So, welcome to the Treasury Elite Leadership Series. I would like to thank all our viewers and members for supporting this noble cause of Treasury Elite, whose main objective is networking, knowledge sharing, and mentoring. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Abhishek Goenka, founder of IFA Global and Treasury Elite. We bring in world class foreign exchange, treasury, corporate finance, and financial transformation for companies across India over the last 15 years. And today we have Mr. Nawaz Miran, Chairman, Eastern Group of Companies, and fast developing and progressive group based off Kerala. Beside Eastern Condiments, which is the group's flagship company, it has been awarded as India's largest spice exporter by the Spices Board over the last 20 years in a row. After graduating in commerce, Mr. Miran joined the family business and has over 30 years of experience. Though his distinct entrepreneurial talent and his leadership, the condiments business of Eastern has gained global presence. The company has a strategic alignment with the US spices giant McCormick, which has further heightened the business expansion strategies to new dimensions. Mr. Miran is the past chairman of CII Southern Region and co-chair CII Export Group on doubling farmers' income, member CII National Council. Apart from this, he's also the chairman of M.E. Miran Foundation for Entrepreneurship, a unique initiative established to inculcate and cultivate and diversify the spirit of entrepreneurship and innovation in India. Welcome, Mr. Miran. How are you doing today?
Good. Thank you very much for making me part of this initiative.
Glad to have you today as a part of Treasury Elite Leadership Series. In the next 35 minutes, we would love to learn from your experience. So my first question to you, Mr. Miran, is that you have had a pretty long entrepreneurship journey. So I was going through, so you ventured into multiple businesses, you scaled up these spices business, got few investors on board, and scaled the company phenomenally over the last many years. So what were your major three learnings that you gathered out of your entrepreneurship journey for the last many, many years?
First and foremost, for any long-term journey or a marathon, I would say, one need to have systems and processes in place, both for the organization as well as for the person by himself. And my experience is that you don't have to have too many ideas. You formulate a strategy based on the ideas that is available at that point of time. Be ready for, since life is dynamic, business is dynamic, growth is dynamic, be ready for any changes that need to be incorporated. But fix to focus on that three or four ideas which you think is most important for the business, and then chase it. So once you do that, you will have a lot of sprints in between your marathon. But end of the day, 10 years or 15 years down the line, when you turn back, you would have already built a castle.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So, Mr. Miran, I would like to know that one of the common threads which could link a lot of global CEOs is that they start off with a vision of earning money, but later on during the process, they decide that it's not only about the money. I would like to ask you, one of the single biggest reason for you to get out of bed every morning and get yourself to work. What is it that drives you today?
Yeah, if you're solving an issue for someone whom you call as a customer, and if you are partnering with him, then it's going to be, in a technical term, you call it co-creation. So if that is the sort of a journey, then you have a lot of fun in taking your journey forward. So it will be mostly, vendor, the customer, all of them coming together for a common purpose, rather than you single-handedly trying to achieve something by yourself. So when you do it, in this fashion, what ultimately happens is that every day there will be some success. So that is the one thing which is going to drive you in the future.
Excellent. In fact, I was discussing with one of the very senior entrepreneurs of the country, and he was telling me that I do not understand the concept of core competence. I straight away go to my customer. The customer tells me, do this, do this, do this, acquire this company, make this product. We go back, we go to the drawing board, just develop the same for the customer and give it. And we have been expanding our core competence over the years just on the basis of the customer. And the customer clearly tells us what to do and what to acquire, and we just do that. And that company has done close to 22 acquisitions. And that's the way they get all the ideas. So that's a very, very interesting thought that, of course, make it a journey together with the customer and learn from the customer and go ahead so that it's a cohesive journey for both parties. So, Mr. Miran, since a lot of entrepreneurs would be listening to you today, I would like to know what was one of the biggest risk that you have taken in your last many, many years in your entrepreneurial journey, and how do you feel about it now when those phases passed? And how do entrepreneurs typically, fight the emotions of failure, regret, self-doubt, or missing out? What's your thoughts about it?
Um, Taking a decision, one has to get to a level where you should not get upset over decision making. Mistakes can happen, but you always have the course correction in front of you. So, taking a call, going ahead with it, and trusting it, putting all effort behind it is what generally one should be looking at. But whereas if I would say that you know um, in my life, I probably I might be looking at the risk at a lower notion, but one of the major stuff which I did was moving away from the family business and starting of my own at the age of 23. So, and it was not a success. So, but I was able to create a very SOP-driven organization, which helped us. This got replicated in our parent company, and that parent company, in the long run, was able to take much better advantage. And that's what I feel I've done as a positive side, on the positive side. But on the negative side, if you look at, I've done diversifications, non-related diversification, moving away from the core competence. So, as a human being, you have you are lucky if you succeed in a business. There are capable people with adequate amount of money and stuff like that, but the time may not be right for that sort of a particular business. But if one business succeeds, you should never feel that you are capable of running any business. So diversification failed in a big way. So that was a major learning for me.
Right, right, right. Great. So yes, understand what your core competence is until the time uh, you're doing good in that. So you have had investors in the past. You got McCormick and you got strategic partners, and now you decided to sell it to the Okla Group. So I wanted to know, at one point of time, a promoter should think about getting strategic investors in the business. At the same time, when should he think about exiting a substantial part of the business? Any major thoughts in mind that you have out of your experience?
Uh, See, ours is a family-run organization. My father was the founder of the group, I'm the second generation.
Yes.
Our third generation is not yet fully active in the business, but hopefully in another, they're still in and around, but then hopefully in another 2 to 3 years, they will also be active in the business. What
Excellent.
the journey is like, you know, at some point of time, for you to scale it up, you need funds. So you need to create an organization where an investor uh, should be interested in investing. So if you look at what it is, you have to work with best audit firms. Best practices has to be adopted within the business. Everything has to be in black and white. There is no point in saving some money by way of evasion or something like that.
Right.
So then that becomes a better slate for someone to look at. The next stage is, whether you want to unlock value or grow with the same momentum or with the same partners, or uh, have some strategic tie-up or something like that. So in our case, what we did was, in the first phase, investor came in. Investor was a private equity. In the second stage, a strategic guy came in, and the strategic guy was not in a position to get to the next level. So we decided to, go with another strategic player. And in that, two things have been achieved. One, we were able to unlock value. Two, we were able to join hands with a very, very professional group. So
Right.
what we feel is, in the long run, we will make much more value, compared to what we have achieved as of now in the journey together with that sort of a professional and very, very experienced group.
Excellent. I wish you all the best, sir,
Thank you.
going forward on this. Sir, I wanted to know that Eastern has been a very good brand in Kerala and other parts of India also. What is your brand philosophy and the culture of the firm that you have built, and how do you ensure a world-class brand and a world-class firm culture in any company? So if you have to rebuild a company once again, what are the 3 or 4 things that you would do to make sure that you have a world-class brand and a world-class culture?
So, as generally the gurus, they talk about when they create an organization. First and foremost, there should be a culture wherein you strive for excellence. When you strive for excellence, it is not just the product, it is not just the service, it is not just the people. You will definitely be looking things on a meritorious base, rather than, especially when we run a family run organization, we'll be looking at how many cousins have I got, and let me bring my cousin inside, or let me bring my son inside. You have to move from that sort of a thing to ensure that you create a culture where merit is being appreciated, and so that's the first part. Second part is the competency within the organization. It can be by way of people. It can also be by way of high-end machines and technologies and stuff like that, which we bring into the organization. And the third thing is, you have to have a performance-driven organization. Every people at every level in the organization should be looking at, should be measured on their performance rather than just their loyalty alone.
Correct. 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 So truly said. Professional. In fact, a lot of companies, when I talk to who are family-run companies, typically when it's an extended business, they have problems matching professionalism at one side, in terms of which the other side they are promoters. So making sure that there is a proper culture based on meritocracy often becomes a challenging part for a lot of companies. But yes, time and again, I was talking to someone and he said, we have a rule that none of my immediate families can actually come into the management. you know so they can work two levels down, but they cannot come into management, because then sometimes the meritocracy is not been restored. So rightly said, that's very, very relevant, and performance measurement and management is true at every single level. So, sir, I would like to know more about you as a person and three major rituals for you for the day.
Yeah, I'm a very relaxed person. Um, I do my yoga. I do basketball.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. So health wise, I take care. I'm a family man. So most of my time outside of office is with family. I do of course has got friends, a lot of friends, but after the COVID scenario, uh, people are all at home.
Uh,
One thing which I would say, which is very very, which works on a continuous basis with me, is my learning spirit. I'm a continuous learner. I'm open to ideas. So learning actually takes you to the next level where how you uh, you know you need to not just in business but your uh, you as a brand.
Correct.
When we talk about brand, there will be a brand for which you will be working, but you yourself is a brand. So
Correct.
and I'm a relationship person. So and I also make sure that you know me as a brand uh, should walk the talk and lead by example.
Excellent. Excellent. So rightly said. I mean, I think one of the quotes of Mr. Buffett was that the best investment that you can make in this world is on yourself, and make yourself a brand, not only by the media thing, but obviously by self learning and raising the bar and the quality of the people you interact with across. It's simply success starts leaving cues. So, sir, my last question to you is: tell us something about your entrepreneurial foundation that you're running, and uh, guide the entrepreneurs with some one or two messages of yours.
Yeah. Uh, so the entrepreneur, I mean, my dad's name is Emi Miran, and this entrepreneurship foundation is named on his behalf. So this is one handholding exercise where we are trying to make sure that youngsters doesn't have to renegotiate a learning curve. And we obviously would like to be partnering with them in we don't give advices, but we give real time experiences, so that based on that they get a chance to take their form. That's one thing. Second thing, whatever whichever startups we are putting money, we try and see that that sort of startups are some way or other related to some need of ours.
Hmm.
So that way we are fully aligned with them, and on a day-to-day basis we know where they are, how they are, what is troubling them, and stuff like that. That's the second part of it. And the third part of it is, make them create a go-to-market strategy at the earliest. Because go-to-market is where people feel like, many of the startups, if you may analyze, they probably think that they've got a very good solution, but they feel that okay, my somebody will stall my idea, or someone will replicate, or they will have that sort of a feeling.
Right.
So they will keep hiding the idea and they will not try testing it in the market.
Testing it, yeah.
Yeah. So the third thing which I want to reiterate is that the go-to-market strategy has to be very, very clear. Don't try to perfect your product. Go to the market with the almost perfect stuff, and then try to improve improve the product quality or whatever it is. So
Correct.
that is one thing which we do through the foundation.
Excellent, excellent. So that's all. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm sure your experience, your thoughts, and some of your ideas and your learnings about your past definitely enlighten the course for a lot of young entrepreneurs and also the current entrepreneurs who are trying to scale up the business and who will understand that entrepreneurship is not a sprint, it's a marathon, and you cannot measure performance based on quarter and quarter, but probably look at over a 8 to 10 years period, because it's often said that it probably takes 10 years to make an overnight success, as you rightly said. So thank you so much